all the records that you broke and everything that you accomplished, what means the most to you? What that you accomplished at BYU? What's the feat that you accomplished at BYU that means the most to you?
Winning the first bowl game for Coach Edwards, first and second. That was, they'd been, I don't know how many bowl games before that. We'd been to a couple of holiday bowls before that. Didn't get it done. So winning that first one, that was something I'll always remember.
And the iconic, of course, it kind of starts with you guys are going to punt, and you, in no uncertain terms, come over to the sideline and say, "We're not punting," in friendly BYUtv verse there. What do you remember from that sequence of the competitor, perhaps the most competitive moment for you comes out where it's like, no, I refuse to give up right here?
Well, like I said, we hadn't won a bowl game yet. And why, had we punted then, the game is over.
Why not?
Why not? I'm not going to go out laying down like that, And so, like you said, I came and Lavelle and I had a little quaint discussion. And he let me go back in the game because I didn't want to come off the field. The guy, I said huddle up on 4th down, and we had to burn one of our timeouts that we would have needed later. But it was it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, you got the first down. A couple plays later, you get a touchdown, get the ball back quickly, score another touchdown. When Bill Shepard blocks that punt, what's going through your mind?
Well, I think there was about 18 seconds left when he did that. And so I knew we had at least 3 plays in us, time for 3 plays. And I just said, we got back in the huddle. I said, look, we come too far now. Let's win this game, And I remember, I think it was the first pass that I threw it was to Clay Brown across the middle. And it was probably the worst pass I'd thrown all year long. And the cornerback on the offside had let his man go and was about, if I'd have led Clay with the ball, it probably would have been picked off, game over. But I threw a terrible pass behind him, and he didn't catch the one with the one hand like he did in the first half. He let it go. The next one, I think I threw out of bounds down the sidelines, and then, the 3 seconds left, you got one play. And it's a play we practiced every week, you just hope you never have to use it. And it worked out to perfection. I mean, first guy down is supposed to tip it if he can't catch it. And the ball came right down to Clay. I mean, it was just like there was 3 or 4 SMU guys around him, and not one of those guys touched the ball. And I ended up playing with 2 of those defensive backs from SMU. Wes Hopkins was one. He was a safety. I played with him in Philadelphia. And Reggie Phillips was the other DB. Played with him in Chicago. And that conversation came up a lot. Yeah, I said, hey, how did you guys miss the ball? I mean, it was 3 of you guys there, none of you touched it but Clay. It was just one of those things. I mean, it was somebody was looking out for us, that's for sure.
It's a sore spot for Eric Dickerson, too.
Oh, Eric and I'll probably see him up in Tahoe in a few weeks, and you guys stole that game. That's all I ever hear from those guys.
There's a moment, and I think you've told it, but I'd love to hear from you, where with Vaisa Kahema, where you recreate this moment in a practice in the NFL or something? Do you recall this?
Briefly. We were all in Philadelphia together. And
one of the DBs from SMU was talking trash.
After, well, Wes was one of the DBs.
Yep.
And so I think we reenacted it. I can't remember what happened.
pulled his pants down or something and caught the ball or something. Yeah.
That sounds like Vi.
Elder Sikahema now.
Yes,
right?
He's a big wig now.
He's big time.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim McMahon on BYU Sports Nation. Now, as we mentioned, it's a special occasion to have you back in Provo. For you, what's it like now to know that when you walk into Lavelle Edwards Stadium, your name's up there, it's retired, the number 9 is there? What does that mean to you?
Well, I had some great years here. I had a lot of fun with my teammates and coaches, and we had a lot of success. And to see my name finally up there I didn't think it'd ever happen because I didn't think I'd ever graduate. But I finally, took those last 5 classes and got it done. I think 6, 7 years ago, something like that.
Yep.
And, it was a big burden off my shoulders, and I had promised Lavelle and my folks that I'd get it done. And I was glad to do it before we ended up losing them. So. It's nice to be up there.
Where'd you get that suit you wore at graduation that year? That was the most outlandish, amazing suit of the jacket, yeah.
It's just a jacket from a company that just sends me stuff.
I need to get my hands on that thing. That was incredible, man.
Yeah, those I like color.
Yeah. I've never asked you.
Black and white's not real,
Yes.
It's too bland for me.
Yeah. We've never asked you about this, but in 2014, in the game where at halftime you are, honored, Taysom Hill breaks his leg in the first half, and there's kind of this weird vibe in the stadium, but we were all so excited to have you there. What was that like for you? Because obviously it's this huge moment for you. But it was also a weird vibe in the stadium because Taysom gets hurt right there.
And I think we ended up losing that night, too. I think it was to Utah State, if I'm
You were the one
correct.
win that night.
And I think the last time they had lost to Utah State was when I was playing here. So it was it was kind of a bittersweet night. But it brought back some memories. But yeah, it was nice. It was a nice night.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
Now, Jeremy and I were talking this morning about everything that you did at such a high level at BYU, including at one point punting the ball. So
Some people forget this.
Yeah, were you an underrated punter?
Well, my average wasn't all that good. I think it was like 39 yards or something. But we didn't really have to punt a whole lot back then. My freshman year, we had Gifford Nielsen, All-American QB, and Mark Wilson was after him. So we didn't punt a whole lot. I probably maybe 20 times. I don't even remember my stats, but I was just happy to make the varsity, in some capacity. And so Gifford got hurt, I think the fourth game of that year, so all of a sudden I'm the backup. But again, I was still punting, and I got in a couple games my freshman year, but nothing spectacular.
Didn't you punt left-footed one time? Did that happen?
That happened over in Hawaii, yeah. Yeah, it was a game I wasn't supposed to play. I kept saying, my arm was hurting, which it was. I ended up throwing like 60-some balls that night, even though I wasn't supposed to play. But yeah, the center hiked it over my head. And when I chased it down, I happened to just turn to my left, or to my right, actually. So I'm running towards our sideline, and the guy chasing me, if I would have tried to kick it, you can't stop and kick it. The guy would have blocked the punt, so I just kept running. And, I kicked a few things around with my left feet before, so to me, it wasn't that big a deal. I was just trying to get, just get it anywhere that way, right? And it ended up down on the 1 yard line. That's a pretty good punt.
That's one of my I hadn't heard it from you, but I'd heard the Jim McMahon left-footed punt story, which is awesome. Why was your arm hurting? Just too much Frisbee on the beach the day before?
No, it was, I had had shoulder problems ever since high school. I had it dislocated originally in high school, and just over the years, all the throwing and using your arm, it just wore it down, and until eventually, in the pros, I finally got it fixed. But I played quite a few years with a bad shoulder.
Did you play 80 and 81 with a bad shoulder then? You just muscled through it?
Yeah, it's been bad for a long time.
You broke all of those NCAA records with a bad shoulder.
Well, I mean, I didn't feel a whole lot. Amazing what painkillers do. That and adrenaline. You get out there on game day, you forget a lot of pain. So I didn't think about it once I was out there.
Are you saying with 2 good eyes and 2 good shoulders, you could have broken even more records?
Been okay.
Yeah. You might have been all right. Yeah. Ty couldn't have reached some of those records. Yeah.
I think Ty broke them all anyway.
Yeah.